Hey guys, Joshua Peterson here with Peterson Electric. I want to show you the second part of this video to baseboard heating and the practicality of it, as well as showing you around this place. This is what I roughly designed. So in a nutshell, where we're going to be standing right now is going to be, give me a chance here, right there. And this is the kitchen area. So when we designed this, we were trying to measure out how many feet, how we would do our circuits, and then making sure how would we J-box it down below. I changed a little bit of things here. As you can see, I scratched this out, and I'll show you why here. And I scratched that out because I actually joined it a different way. I did run in a 12222 cable, or what we call 12.4 Romex NM cable. And I like doing that because of the fact that I can actually have those circuits together and come into the baseboard heating here. Now, the original one was supposed to be behind the door. I don't suggest doing it behind the door because it can, if that door's left open, and it can rot that wood over time or just get it real brittle. I put it over here instead. I did do T-stats on all of them down below, and simply because of the fact that I did not want to find a general location for this room and put a thermostat on a wall that I thought I could get into and then run wire up and then come back down. I mean, in this room, I'd literally have to bring a J-box in the center and then start spaghettiing over and put a line side in and a load side through the wall and back up to your baseboard heaters that are just in this room. And then if they really didn't want all the heat on or turning it down low, they couldn't really turn on each stat at a time like you can with this area. The other thing about it is it's more inexpensive as far as labor-wise and material. So it works really well to have your unistat on here if the place is already finished up here. I'm sure some of these walls you could have fished, but again, some of the rooms are real tiny. We thought this was the best way. These are 240 volt rated. I did have to actually cut all of the baseboards here, and then I went ahead and put in just a little bit of cedar caulking there. The other thing about these unistands is that they are 240 volt rated as well. They turn off both legs at one time. Now keep in mind when you're wiring this, your two reds are going to come in and they're going to be your line side of your unistat. That's what we call this. And your back side of it coming out the load, once you turn on and you hear that click, okay, you're going to actually have a load side going out with two blacks. Now, if you're on this side of the baseboard heater with the thermostat, you're going to have a black and a black wire. If you're on this side of the thermostat, opposite side, you'll have a black and a red wire. Don't pay attention to black versus red and red versus black. Bottom line, when you're coming inside of this, I'll try to show you guys one over here. When you're coming inside, just pay attention to your directions that you're going to have your lines in and your loads out. If you mix them up and you turn that stat on, you're going to blow it up at 240 and wreck the stat and pop the breaker. Okay, so in here we put a 2-foot baseboard heater in here because we're concerned furniture, and really 400 watts in here is going to be just fine when you're sleeping. Right here we couldn't find a place. We didn't want to move the library or his library area for his shelf, so we went ahead and put a 2-foot right underneath the stairs. I would not worry about these stairs getting hot because this is not getting hot enough to even heat that stairway. Again, a 2-footer is just to kind of take off the nip. This is a 3-foot in here. Now back behind here, we do have a 6-footer in the same exact 2-pole circuit. But as you can see, I put rocks here. And I want to make sure that nothing burns. Usually a brick or a rock is going to do very well for this. This is a 6-foot heater right here. So if it's at 200 watts, you're going to be 1200 watt heater. So you need to be really up to a 7-foot heater, baseboard heater, that you can actually feel the heat of a 1500 watt plug-in. This is why a lot of people have issues with their breaker popping when you plug in at 1500 watts because you're running 12.5 amps right off the bat to 13, and your breaker might only be 15 amps in that wall outlet, and then you've got all the other lights on there and things you're plugging in like TV or whatever. You're going to pop that breaker because it's always consuming 7 to 8 amps. So this is right here is a 3-footer again. Do not worry about the wood right here heating up on the back side. I've taken them off before where they're 40 years old and we've had literally the drywall get a little soft on it, but that was it. Now this wood, yeah, it's going to probably change color over time as this thing warms up. The hottest point of it is right here. So again, if you're putting plastic or whatever and you're winterizing, or that's just how you do your lifestyle. Make sure that nothing combustible can be here. You want to make sure your drapes don't come over the front of that. The code states that no 110 outlet can be plugged in right up above it any whatsoever. So we made sure that when we designed this, we had no plugs that were going to be near. We could have it on the side of it, but not above it where the heat is right here. Okay, so stay to this side or to that side. Now, the other thing about the unistats, how I placed them, as you can notice, right here, I kind of put the unistats closer to the door because I felt like, one, when they come in, they want to turn it on. This is the front entrance when they come in after the winter's over and their family's vacationing. The other thing is that when the door shuts, it's a nice thing to have it on this side versus that side because then the cold air's still coming in. But keep in mind, guys, that when you shut this door, if I didn't have this cord here, there's a gap down below. So you may have to get your door eventually changed or seal that. Otherwise, your heaters are just going to stay on constantly. In here, we went ahead, this is our other part of our second circuit, which is going to be circuits 14 and 16. We put a 5-footer in here for the kitchen, put 2 bricks right there to block it. Again, unistat closer to the door. And then over here, we put a 2-footer near the toilet, just common sense. So you're sitting on the toilet in case it's cold, you can go ahead and turn that on. Put a 2-footer in here. Now, I really think it would have been more advisable to have a 4-foot in this room. It's a little larger, but we can't do anything about the beds. So we kind of have to watch out for that. I did have to move up their cable that they use for their Wi-Fi right there to get that out of the way. Here's an older heater that looks about 20 years old. I really think that you should change your heaters every 20 to 30 years, maybe 25 max. But when I see them start to age like that, I really think they become very inefficient, and they don't. You're not getting your value out of your money for your kilowatts because they start to age and they just don't heat up. The ceramic starts to age on it. And the other thing about it, these are not the hydronics. The hydronics I've actually put in another job in another cabin, and I did not feel that for the price of 2.5% more, which is almost 250% more, where I was spending maybe $50 on a heater and I'm dropping instead of $125 on a small one. I did not feel that they were actually staying on longer and hotter like they said, and I did not feel that they actually warmed up any different than a Radiant one. So I think Radiant ceramic is the better bang for your buck personally. Over here, this is an area that we could not get underneath. Okay, so this was a solid floor. I'll show you how I did that in a second. But again, our outlet is to the side. Our drapes are not above this. This is a 6-footer in the master bedroom. Now, come down here. You can actually see this better. As my wires come in, I went ahead and I phased this out on every single one of them. This is hot, so I got to be careful. We watch for our grounding, of course. Okay, our grounding has to be tied for the circuit to the baseboard heater. Then right here, I taped it red. You can use a Sharpie, but over time that's going to actually fade off because of the heat. So I did 3M red tape, which is a better high temperature. And as you have your black and your red coming in, they're actually just going to one black to my red, one red to my red, because that's the line side of the red. The load side is the black. So if I turn this off, you're going to hear a click. Now, if you hear that, that's the bimetal. So as this room is heated up, I actually have to turn it hotter because of the fact that I want to turn it up more. Now, if it's cold or near a drafty door, you know, that thing's going to kick on all the time. You have to go higher with that. But for right now, you can hear that clicking. That's how you know if your unistat or your wall stat is actually working well. Now, when power comes in, one leg goes right to here on this 1200 watt resistive element. It's going across all the way there, and a wire comes all the way back. And then when it comes back, this wire's loose. It just goes right up above this, but it's encaged. Okay, but when it comes back, that's actually creating a dead short. The reason why the breaker does not fail is because the ceramic heater has not failed or opened and grounded out, but it's also just because it's creating a perfect dead short and creating heat. Now let's go outside and I'll show you the last thing here. Sorry these videos are a little long. This is part of that circuit. We could not get into this area. He did not want pipe inside of the house. He'd rather have it outside. I typically don't paint my pipe, but because we know this customer and it's such a short piece and we want to keep it brown, my wife and my son put about 2-3 coats on that after I crafted it. Is there any other way to do it smaller? Not really. I mean, they could put an area of a step over this more to cover it, but we did have to come out of the back of that heater. We did put our 3/4 inch EMT all the way through to the heater, and then we bonded that, came across, came through, drilled it, and then caulked that. That was supporting our 12 gauge wire all the way through. And then when that came in, this cabin slopes really, really low. So back here, I was literally on my belly, and we made a J-box right here. And we took that one coming from the master bedroom over there, the kitchen here, that bathroom one right there you saw to here and junctioned it. Then we took a 12-2 wire, and that came over to here underneath the cabin. And when that came over to here, I took that baseboard heater and this baseboard heater and tied them all into a J-box, and then took that to the panel. And that was going to be 5 conductors in there. I watched my box size to make sure I either had a single gang or a 2 gang box. Made sure I watched my wire size, my wire nuts, and I stapled a lot underneath there, almost every joist to make sure, because he has a few varmints that are living underneath there and they're crawling around and they love to chew on wires. The other thing I did is when I took my 12-4 home run, it came to about right here, and I took that 12-2, and I took the red and the red-white wire and split it this way, and I took the black and the black-white wire and I split it on this side of the cabin. And then I took this heater, that heater, this little stairway, that living, and that other bedroom there, and I tied all those into this junction box as well underneath. I put a blank cover on it. I made sure I had my black tape and my red tape phasing my whites back to an ungrounded conductor type, which is Article 200. And then after all that, I made sure all my grounds were tight, checked my grounds in every single baseboard heater when I turned it on, and I was reading 120 volt nominal to ground and 240 phase to phase. And I also made sure that those J-boxes said that there's no neutral present. Because if somebody gets on there and taps that and then they think they're going to put an outlet, guess what? They're going to blow up that whatever they plug in immediately. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining us. Sorry the video was a little long, but hopefully it'll help you out when you're figuring out how to lay out baseboard heating, practicality of it. Does it really burn? What do you not have above it, and how far away from the couch and whatnot. So I hope that helped you out. Thanks, guys.